James Vincent, Salon Ministries, a ministry from behind the chair. 1 Corinthians 10:24. No one should seek their own good, but the good of others. I just want to speak about selfishness and how that relates to God and how we view God because of selfishness and how we make excuses because of selfishness and how we look at other people as representatives of God and make excuses why we don't believe in God because of what we see in other people. So anyway, let me tell you a little story. When I was young, 10 years old, somewhere in that vicinity, we all played baseball. We played in the alley. We played baseball, basketball, football. We played everything in this alley. All my buddies would come up to this alley and we commenced playing whatever sport it was for whatever time of year it was. I think we were playing football at this time. And I had a cousin came up and wanted to play with us in the alley. And I liked my cousin. He was a great dude, a great kid. The only problem was, from my 10-year-old perspective, right, was he was really overweight and I was really skinny. So my buddies would commence when my cousin came up and say and call us, "Here comes Fatty and Skinny. Here comes Fatty and Skinny. Look at Fatty. Look at Skinny." You know, and I hear this every day, every time he would come up. So one day after we were done playing football, I came up to my cousin and said to him, "I don't want to play with you no more. I don't want you coming up here no more." And he said, "Why? Why?" I said, "I just don't want you coming here anymore." And he said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I told you, I don't want you coming up here. You're too fat." And he said, "What?" And then I punched him in the chest. And he didn't know, and he just moved back. And I told him, "Now get out of here, leave." And he wouldn't leave. So I punched him again. And he wouldn't leave. So I punched him again. And he wouldn't leave. So I punched him again. And the whole time he's going, "What did I do? What's wrong? How come you're doing this to me? How come you're doing this to me? Why don't you stop?" I said, "Get out of here. I don't ever want you coming up. Get out of here." I probably punched him for 100 yards. And really, he was twice as big as me. He thought he'd smack me, and that would have been the end of it. But, when you're young and you're selfish, you don't care. Yeah. So I punched him and punched him until he cried and turned around and ran away. And then I turned around and I was like, "Oh, good. I don't have to worry about that anymore." You talk about selfishness, right? When you're young, especially. Because that's haunted me for years. After I got saved, God, in times of selfishness, God always would bring that back up. Remember your cousin? Yeah, kind of. So today I wonder, as I'm speaking, thinking about this message, you could think, and this really doesn't relate to selfishness as much as it relates to making excuses before God and beating him off all the time because of what we see in other people as an excuse why not to come to him, right? Well, look at that Christian person. They call themselves a Christian and they're this and they're selfish and they're that and they committed this sin. I'll never be a Christian. That's a bunch of crap. Look at those people calling themselves Christians. I used to think that too, when I was younger. But I didn't get saved till I was later on in life. I was 30 years old. And by the time I was 30, I knew what people were about. I knew what people were about. I knew what I was about. So when I surrendered my life, I surrendered it to God. I didn't surrender it to people. I didn't care. I knew what people were like. And I always believed God wasn't like people. And then actually in my young life, God showed me he wasn't like people. I grew up in the Catholic Church, and back in those days, a lot of the priests were mean. A lot of the nuns were mean. And one time in an early service, I don't know what grade I was in, fourth, fifth, sixth grade or something. And these priests were mean. And I used to, as a little kid, I thought, man, I hope God's not like this. And one time after a mass, at the end of the mass, I heard God's voice. And I heard God tell me, that guy does not represent me. Clear as a bell. Just right in my heart. That guy who you see is a misrepresentation of who I am. And I never forgot it, And I know. And as I got older and I see the sin and the weakness of people and in myself, I never like reflected that like as an excuse to go, I'm not coming to Jesus because look at them. Look at these Catholic Christians. Look at these other Christians. Look at this Christian, you know, telling me they're a Christian, yet they're selfish and they want what they want. And in most cases, and in a lot of cases, it's true. We definitely make the image of God look bad. But that's not God. That's man. It's a big difference. That's not God. That's man that looks like that. When you come to God, it's not like that. You come to God and you humble yourself and you ask him to come into your life, change your life. He'll come in. He'll change your life. He'll bless your life. He'll put you on a path of life. He'll give you a future and a hope. He'll transform you from the inside out because because he's not a man. The Bible says he's not a man that he should be like anybody else. That's a paraphrase. So we like to make excuses. We like to beat off God, right? No, no, no. And it's just our selfishness. It's just ourselves saying, we could do it without you, God. We're fine without you. Leave us alone. But God, luckily, God in his mercy, right? In his mercy, and knowing the heart of man, knowing that he created man, knowing what's in man, he's merciful. He gives us time to come to his senses. Time to quit looking at people and making excuses for you not wanting to know who Jesus is, you not wanting to know, wanting your life changed. Cut the excuses. Quit blaming it on people. Blaming it on man. Man's screwed up. So what else? Man's all screwed up. Everybody's screwed up. That's the whole reason why God came, because he's the only one that's not screwed up, right? He was the only sinless man. He was the only really holy man. That's why you come to him. You don't come to your friend or your buddy, or look to them as representations. Now, are we supposed to be a good representative? Yeah. And are there good representatives of Christ? Sure, there are. There are many, but they're not all. And even the best sometimes fall, as they say, right? So you look to Jesus. Look to him to help you and change your life. Look to him to get you out of a situation, to deliver you out of a situation. Look to him to heal your body, mind, spirit. Look to him. Look to him. Don't look peripheral at anything else. Straight ahead. Look to him. See if he don't make it happen. See if he doesn't enter your life. If you're for real and you're looking to him, something's going to happen. Something's going to change. But as long as you make excuses by looking at the peripheral vision of everybody else as a representation of God, you're going to have a problem. Because people are screwed up. Again, when I got saved later in life, I knew that. I knew when I wasn't coming out. I knew people were screwed up. I knew everybody was, including myself. I wasn't coming to people. I was coming to God. Straight up. That's how you do it. Straight up. Me and you, Lord. Here's my situation. I need help. Would you help me? I'll surrender my life to you if you'll help me. You'll get me out of this situation. If you'll change my life. If you'll make my life different. If I could have new life, I want new life. God will enter in it. And you'll get that new life. And you'll never be the same. So, cut the excuses, get straight up with God, see what happens. All righty. Be blessed. Till we meet again.